Hey, Mitch, you able, after being away so long, you find your way home okay?
Yeah, did some laundry.
What was it like just for the group in general, just to have that, be back and get some rest?
Yeah, we gave everybody the day, obviously, so people could do what they needed to do. Hopefully, got a little bit of time at home or with the people that they're close with, and it's just the season. Everybody's going through. You just keep marching on.
25 games in, what do you know about your team now that you probably didn't know when the season started?
I think there's been for context of the question, because I don't want, but I think there's been a resilience from just the surface level things that we've dealt with in terms of availability and circumstances and lack of continuity and consistency of our group. I think we've had a good resilience and competitive response.
Coach, when you look at Washington, even if it doesn't show yet on the results, do you feel like they're a different team from last season? And we talk about like the areas of growth.
Yeah, being with a team that's been very young at times here, you have to get lost in the process at times. Sometimes not live and die by the result because there may be some circumstances that are hard to overcome that you can't control. And I think they've shown a good amount of improvement even this year. If we go back to their last few games that they played some really good basketball and have shown some development, not only individually but as a team, and growing their kind of identity.
And I guess one of the guys who is really showing this is Alexa. What kind of matchup is going to be tonight, especially in the paints, because right now they can finally play through contacts and finishing at the rim.
Yeah, and again, he's one of their many young guys that are growing and playing a good role for them. It seems like he's kind of finding his way in terms of playing some inside, some outside, and obviously was taken with the high pick, and the talent has always been there, but it's coming together. Things take time. We always want everything now, whether that's individually or collectively as a group. And even the best players or the most talented players takes time. And I think they're putting in their time now.
Tonight, Juju and his brother face off against each other.
Juju.
That's what you call them. Those are like two guys that were at the fringes of the league for a little while. They both worked their way into a pretty solid spot of rotations. What does it take for a guy to work his way back from the edge of falling out in the league, and what has he done to make himself sustainable?
Yeah, I can speak to Julian. Obviously, his brothers had similar journey. As you said, I'm not as familiar, obviously, with the intimate details, but it typically takes a good amount of fight because it's not a talent thing. There's a lot of people that are not in this league that are as talented as people in this league. So it can be timing, it can be circumstantial, it can be a little luck for some reasons I don't know. And it can be also taking advantage of an opportunity that you may not know when it's coming, or it's just the timing of when it comes. And then typically when you get that opportunity, you have to continue to ring the bell in a sense that you have to prove that it's real. And that's hard to do because a lot of times those first opportunities get perceived as not as real. For instance, Julian, I believe we got him for 20 some odd games in a season we didn't win a lot. He had a great end of the season. It would have been easy for someone casually to say that's not real. And so he's got to go to Summer League, and then he's got to do it again. And now you do it again, and now the team tries to get competitive, and they add more players. And so it's just a narrative, unfortunately, that you have to continue to impose yourself upon. And that typically comes with adversity and a lot of things that aren't necessarily stacked in your favor. And I think it tells a lot about people that can do that, and then not only do that, but then, to your point, find themselves squarely in the rotation.
Rich, you guys are in the middle of the season of giving, the community work. The guy that seems to be everywhere is Devin right now. He's done a number of those events and probably maybe some more. What does that say about his maturation, not only as a player, but, as a person, and how he's establishing roots here in San Antonio?
Yeah. You go back, Devin's been here 6 years, and he was a kid when we got him. And I think, it's easy to see on the court. His body's transformed, his game has evolved, he's matured. And there's been a similar path off the court. And for myself, who was his development coach when he first got here, it's been really cool to see some of the things that he has spearheaded. He's obviously always been at the forefront of our team and very tied into our community, but last year or two, he's definitely taken his ownership in that regard of wanting to, I think, have his own imprint, personality on interacting with the community and giving back. And it's great to see. And it says a lot about Devin. It says a lot about this city and this community and our organization, because you could go back to, at least from my memory, David Robinson up until now, and countless others who have done that and did it when they first got here as they grew here, and some when they were done. And so it's one of those things that you feel honored to be a part of with this organization when you get away from the wins and losses and, trying to figure out all the X's and O's stuff.
Mitch, any restrictions on Victor tonight? Are we going to see him back in the starting lineup?
No, he'll be restricted. It's one of those funky deals now where you can't talk about tonight's game without talking about tomorrow. So it's his first back-to-back. Obviously, we've got to get through tonight first, and that will have all of our attention. But in terms of his minutes, we'll be mindful of that. And, I don't know what that will mean, because, again, we have to handle tonight's game. But we also owe it to him to keep a lens on the big picture, and that means we have a game tomorrow also. So he will definitely not be playing regular minutes.
He went through a tough time family-wise, and he soldiered through. What does that say about him?
I think the emotion that he showed, or lack thereof, during the game, is typically the human response of when you're trying to be poised and composed while you're going through something. I think that we've all experienced in our lives, and I don't want to speak for him, but I know typically when you get through those experiences and you're able to catch your breath and probably actually internalize what's going on, it can be a lot. Be good, bad. It's usually emotional either way. And so I am just proud of him that he got through it. I was happy that he felt comfortable enough and together enough with our group to share it, and that we would, honor him and be a part of that moment with him. And, it's tough. Life, unfortunately, doesn't get to be put on hold, and we don't get to determine our work schedules around that. So sometimes we have to, whether it's pick one or juggle them both. And I think that's where, when you have teams and groups that come together, it helps those moments, because we all go through things, and have tough days. And so it was just a moment that hopefully he felt supported, because it obviously was not easy for him.